His father has explained the project to him in a language a child can hold. The technicians have run him through the visualization protocols hundreds of times in the preceding months. He knows what to expect. What he carries even at 7 years old is the awareness that he's about to do something none of the other children he knows have done. Welcome to the Reality Revolution. Today I have a fascinating subject I want to go on a deep dive with: the Chrononauts. The children the government sent through time. Let me paint a picture. The columns are humming. 2 metal columns, 8 feet in height, painted dark gray, spaced about 10 feet apart, in a steel-floored room in the basement of a defense facility outside Woodridge, New Jersey. Between the columns, a shimmering curtain of light. The light has no source the eye can locate. It produces no shadow. It shifts in color from moment to moment in ways defying every category the human visual system has evolved to apply to ordinary photons. The boy who stands before them is 7 years old. He's been brought to this basement by his father. His father is an engineer with one of the largest defense contractors in the country. His father holds a security clearance most adults in the country never see in their lifetimes. His father has been read into a program operating beneath the public record of the United States government, a program drawing on research the orthodox scientific community has refused to acknowledge. The boy has been told this is important, that the country needs him, that he is one of a small number of children selected for this work, whose nervous system remains flexible enough to handle what the technology requires of its operators. The boy nods. A man in a white coat stands beside him. The man's voice is calm and even, telling him that when he steps through the curtain, he will feel a brief sensation of pressure, followed by a sense of falling. He will close his eyes. When he opens them, he will be somewhere else. The boy nods again. What he understands about this moment is limited. He understands the procedure he's been trained to follow. He understands that the year on the other side of the curtain is 1863. He understands that he will arrive at the edge of a Pennsylvania town called Gettysburg on the morning of November 19th. He understands that he will witness the dedication of a cemetery. He understands that he will return. What he has yet to learn is that he's about to step into a doorway sitting in this basement since the year Nikola Tesla died, 26 years before the boy was born. What he has yet to learn is that the past waiting on the other side of the curtain is one version among many, adjacent to the timeline his consciousness has called home since he drew his first breath. What he's yet to learn is that by the age of 12, he will have stepped through this curtain dozens of times. He will have witnessed events the official historical record describes accurately and events the same record described inaccurately. He will have stood at the edge of crowds in centuries other than his own. He will have visited futures still waiting to occur in the linear timeline of his birth. The boy steps forward. He breathes in. He walks into the curtain. This is the story of the Chrononauts, children sent through time by their own government, and the discovery they brought back, the discovery the official record has tried to bury, and the testimony of the surviving operators has refused to let stay buried. The discovery every consciousness teacher of the past century has been transmitting in different languages across every available channel. Timelines are real. You move between them every day. To begin the story properly, begin with the man whose work made the program possible. January 1943, New York City, the Hotel New Yorker. A 76-year-old Serbian immigrant lies dead in a small room on the 33rd floor. His body has been there for 2 days when the maid finds him. His name is Nikola Tesla. He died alone in poverty, with the curtains drawn and the doors locked, surrounded by the meticulous research notes of a lifetime spent thinking thoughts the rest of human civilization had yet to think. Within hours, agents from the Office of Alien Property arrive at the hotel. They seal the room. They confiscate every document, every diagram, every patent application, every personal letter, every laboratory notebook. The materials are sent to a warehouse facility in Manhattan. From there, they are sorted, cataloged, and reviewed by the federal government. What Tesla had been working on in his final years has never been fully disclosed. The official record acknowledges that John G. Trump, an engineering professor at MIT and uncle of a future president, was assigned to evaluate the seized materials. Trump produced a report concluding that the documents contained nothing of military value. He noted that Tesla's work in his final decades was primarily speculative and philosophical. Researchers have studied the case for decades, hold a different view. They argue that Trump's report functioned as a deliberate cover, that the materials confiscated from the hotel room included working concepts for energy weapons, for resonance technologies, for the manipulation of space-time at scales orthodox physics has yet to acknowledge, and for principles of teleportation Tesla had begun developing in the 1930s. The materials, regardless of what they contained, were classified. The materials, regardless of what they contained, sat in the government storage for 25 years. Then, in 1968, materials were pulled from storage. A small team of physicists, engineers, and military advisors began studying them under a classification level above top secret. The team operated under the auspices of DARPA. The team also worked in close coordination with the CIA. The project was given a name: Project Pegasus. The mission of Project Pegasus, according to the surviving testimony of its participants, was the practical development of technologies Tesla had only theorized. The team built two specific operational systems within the first 3 years of the program. The first was a teleportation device using the principles of plasma confinement and what Tesla had called radiant energy. The second was a chronovisor, a device permitting the viewing of a past and future event through what its developers described as the projection of consciousness across the non-local field. The systems worked. They worked imperfectly. They produced inconsistent results, sometimes returned operators in altered states of awareness, with memory gaps, with subtle neurological changes, but they worked. And the team confronted a problem they had failed to anticipate. The adult operators handled the dimensional stress poorly. The strain of crossing between coordinates of space and time created psychological and physiological damage in subjects whose nervous systems had already crystallized into the patterns of adult consciousness. The team needed operators whose nervous systems remained flexible. The team needed children. The selection begins quietly. Children whose parents work within the broader contractor ecosystem feeding the defense industry are noticed first. Sons and daughters of engineers, physicists, mid-level military officers, of the kind of men who hold secret clearances and can be relied upon to keep their families silent about whatever their children were asked to do. Andrew D. Basiago is 7 years old in 1969. His father, Raymond F. Basiago, is an engineer with the Ralph M. Parsons Company, one of the largest defense contractors in the country. Raymond has been read into the program months earlier. He has been asked whether his young son might be eligible to participate. Raymond Basiago says yes. Other children enter the program through similar pathways. William Stillings, the son of a defense industry employee in Southern California. Bernard Mendez, brought in through his father's military connections. Other names, a small group scattered across the country, all of them between the ages of 7 and 12, all of them with parents who can be trusted to maintain silence about what the children are experiencing. The choice of children is deliberate. Project leaders have developed a working theory based on early trials. With adult operators, the nervous system of a young child remains in a state of high neuroplasticity. The synaptic connections have yet to ossify. The internal map of reality is still being assembled. A child can absorb experiences that would shatter an adult consciousness, integrating them into a flexible understanding of the world without the rigid resistance an adult brain mounts against information violating its established categories. Children, in other words, can survive what the technology requires of them. The training begins with small exercises. The children are taught visualization protocols. They're taught to enter relaxed states quickly. They are taught to maintain composure under unfamiliar conditions. They are taught how to describe what they perceive without analyzing it, without filtering it, or imposing an interpretation on raw experience. They're taken to the facilities. The facilities operate under DARPA direction. The most significant sits in Woodridge, New Jersey, inside a Curtiss Wright building. Another facility operates in El Segundo, California. A third operates in Princeton. At each facility, the children encounter the technologies unlike anything any of them have imagined. The first time Andy Basiago sees the teleporter, he stands in a basement room of the Curtis Wright facility, his small hand near his father's, his eyes fixed on the device at the center of the room. The device is 2 metal columns. Columns are dark gray, slightly elliptical in cross-section, approximately 8 feet in height, and they stand about 10 feet apart. Between them, a shimmering curtain of light. The curtain has no source the eye can locate. It seems to hang in the empty air between the columns, a sheet of brightness producing its own visibility from within. The color shifts moment to moment. There are no shadows around it. Looking directly at it produces a sensation similar to vertigo, a feeling that one's balance is being subtly contested. A technician explains the principle to the boy. The columns generate what the operators call a plasma confinement field. The field harnesses the type of energy Tesla had identified in his late research, an energy permeating space at all times but rarely interacting with ordinary matter in ways perceivable to human senses. The columns concentrate this energy into a focused boundary. The boundary, when crossed by a conscious observer, transfers the observer to a different set of space-time coordinates. The technician puts it in simpler terms for the 7-year-old. He says, when you walk through, you'll be somewhere else. The boy nods. He's been prepared for this. His father has explained the project to him in a language a child can hold. The technicians have run him through the visualization protocols hundreds of times in the preceding months. He knows what to expect. What he carries even at 7 years old is the awareness that he's about to do something none of the other children he knows have done. He's about to participate in something his country considers important enough to keep secret. He's about to step through a doorway into another time. He steps forward and breathes in, walks into the curtain. The sensations in his later testimony would always defy precise description: a pressure on all sides, a sense of falling. Although his feet remained planted, a momentary loss of the sense of self, as if the boundary of who he was had become temporarily porous to whatever lay beyond it. A brightness, a weightlessness, a return. He opens his eyes. He is standing in an open field. The grass is tall and dry. The air smells different from the air of New Jersey in 1970, cleaner, perhaps just different. The sky is the same sky he has always known, but the quality of the light has shifted in a way he has no words for. He's wearing the same clothes he had been wearing in the basement: dark trousers, a flannel shirt, boots his mother had brought him a size too large because she expected his feet to grow. He has arrived. The year his handlers told him before he stepped through is 1863. He stands in a field at the edge of a small Pennsylvania town. The town's name is Gettysburg. In the distance, a crowd is assembled, thousands of people dressed in the clothes of an era 107 years before the boy's birth. Men in dark frock coats and tall hats, women in long dresses with bonnets tied beneath their chins, warriors in blue uniforms. A platform has been erected at the front of the gathering. A man stands on the platform, his frame tall and angular, his beard the shape every American schoolchild eventually recognizes from textbook illustrations. The boy knows who the man is. The boy has been told what is about to happen. The man on the platform is going to deliver a speech that will be remembered for as long as the American Republic exists. He's going to speak for approximately 2 minutes. He's going to consecrate the ground earlier that summer and use the words that will be quoted, analyzed, taught, and engraved on monuments for a century and a half. The boy stands at the edge of the crowd. He's wearing his oversized boots, his flannel shirt, his dark trousers. He looks out of place. He looks young. Nobody seems to notice. Thousands of people gathered for the dedication ceremony of the Soldiers' National Cemetery have their attention fixed on the platform. A photographer is working in the crowd. The photographer's name is Alexander Gardner. He is one of the few men in the country who has mastered the wet plate collodion process required to capture images on this kind of scale. He's setting up his camera approximately 40 yards from where the boy stands. The photographer lifts the plate, frames the shot, exposes the image. The boy is in the photograph. The boy, an oversized boot peeking out from beneath an ill-fitting trouser leg, stands at the edge of the crowd in a photograph taken on November 19th, 1863, by a photographer documenting the dedication of the cemetery at Gettysburg. The plate would survive. The image would be archived The photograph would be republished in textbooks and historical journals across the following century and a half, and in 2012, a 49-year-old attorney named Andrew D. Basiago would point to the boy in the photograph and tell the world that the boy was him. Sent back from a basement in New Jersey at the age of 7, standing in a field of 107 years before his birth, listening to Abraham Lincoln deliver the Gettysburg Address. Figure in the photograph is real. The boy is visible. The boots are oversized, placement exactly where Basiago says he was standing. Whether the figure is Basiago, whether the figure is some other boy whose presence at Gettysburg was perfectly ordinary, the documentary record holds no definitive answer. What the record can confirm is that a figure matching Basiago's description appears in a photograph from November 19, 1863. Photograph exists. Figure exists. The interpretation is what remains contested. The boy on the field, in his own account, listens to the address. He hears the famous words. He stands silent at the edge of the crowd. When Lincoln finishes, the boy walks back to Ward Place. He had arrived, finds the marker his handlers had positioned for him, and he waits for the recall. The transition repeats in reverse. The pressure, the falling, the brightness, the return. He opens his eyes. He is back in the basement of the Curtis Wright facility. His father waits for him. He has been gone by the basement clock less than 2 minutes. The Gettysburg mission was the third assignment of his career. By the age of 9, he's been sent on dozens. Targets escalate. The duration of each mission lengthens. The handlers begin assigning him specific events of historical significance in order to test the consistency of the technology's targeting and the reliability of the Chrononauts' observations. In 1971, at the age of 8, he is sent to Ford's Theater on the night of April 14, 1865. The mission target is the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. The boy steps through the curtain in the basement. He arrives in a stairwell adjacent to the theater. He walks through the building, watches the performance of Our American Cousin from the back of the orchestra section, keeps his eyes on the presidential box at the second balcony level. He watches John Wilkes Booth approach the box, hears the shot, sees the chaos that follows, stays in the theater until the recall signal arrives, then returns to his marker, returns through the curtain. He has observed the assassination of an American president. He's 8 years old. What disturbs him more than the violence he has witnessed is something his handlers had failed to fully prepare him for. He is sent to the same event 6 times, 6 trips to Ford's Theater, 6 observations of the same assassination. The dates are the same. The location is the same. The general sequence of events is the same. The details are different. On one trip, the presidential box is decorated with 2 American flags and a 3rd draped flag. On another trip, the same box is decorated with 3 flags and a portrait of George Washington. On one trip, Mary Todd Lincoln is wearing a dark dress. On another trip, her dress is deep purple. On one trip, Booth's path of escape goes one way through the theater. On another trip, Booth's path goes a different way. The boy reports the discrepancies after each mission. His handlers take notes, they thank him, they reassign him to other targets. He keeps noticing the discrepancies. They appear in every multi-visit assignment. Gettysburg twice, with slight differences in the position of the crowd and the wording of the address. Ford's Theater 6 times. The Hindenburg disaster 4 times. Each viewing capturing a slightly different set of passenger movements in the final seconds before the explosion. On certain visits, the boy notices things the handlers have no explanation for. A bystander in the Ford's Theater crowd who appears on 3 of his 6 visits and is absent on the other 3. A particular line of dialogue in the play that varies in wording across the visits. The position of the lamp on the wall near the box. The color of the dress worn by an actress on stage. Each variant is internally consistent. Within any single visit, the timeline behaves exactly as a real timeline behaves. Cause produces effect. Sequence produces sequence. The people inside the variant move and speak and breathe with the full weight of being real, conscious and alive in their own moment. And yet between visits, the variants differ. The boy makes drawings, keeps them in a small notebook the handlers permit him to maintain. The drawings show the same room with subtly altered details, the same crowd with subtly different faces. The same moment of historical significance, shifting slightly each time he returns to it. By the age of 10, the boy is forming a theory. He brings the theory to one of the senior project scientists, who asks the question directly. He asks, "Are you sending me to the same past every time, or are you sending me to a slightly different past on each trip? The scientist looks at him for a long moment. The scientist says that is the right question. The scientist sits the boy down in a small office at the rear of the facility and is given a soda. He is treated for the first time in months as a colleague rather than an asset. Scientist explains in slow, careful sentences what the project has been discovering since the technology came online. The past, the scientist says, has never been a single fixed line. The future has never been a single fixed line either. Reality, the scientist says, exists as a vast field of overlapping variations. Each moment branches into countless adjacent versions of itself. The version of November 19th, 1863 you experienced on your first visit was one variant among many. The version of November 19th, 1863 you experienced on your second visit was a different variant. Both were real, both happened, both contained an Abraham Lincoln delivering an address consecrating a cemetery at Gettysburg. The variants differed in how the crowd was arranged, in the exact word choice of certain passages, in the weather 200 yards away from the platform, in the identity of the soldier standing third from the left in the honor guard. You experienced different timelines, the scientist says. Same event, different lines. The boy absorbs this. He understands it more easily than the scientist expects. He asks, which one is the real one? The scientist smiles. The scientist says, all of them. Then the scientist explains the second discovery, the one the project has been more reluctant to discuss with its child operators. The variants, the scientist says, are accessible from each other. Whatever consciousness moves through the technology between the columns is the same consciousness moving naturally between adjacent timelines all the time in ordinary life without any technology at all. The technology accelerates and concentrates a process every human nervous system performs continuously. Every choice you make moves your awareness from one variant of reality to a slightly different variant. The choices accumulate. The shift compounds. The trajectory of your life is the integrated result of the millions of small variant selections taken one after another by a consciousness so accustomed to the process that it has stopped noticing itself doing it. The boy thinks about this for a long time and says, so the timeline I'm living in is one of many. The scientist agrees, yes. The boy says, and other versions of me are living in other timelines. The scientist agrees, yes, again. The boy says, and the version I'm living in keeps shifting depending on what I choose. Scientist says, now you understand what you've actually been doing in the field for the past 3 years. The boy goes home that evening, eats dinner with his family, goes to bed in his bedroom in the house his parents own in a quiet New Jersey neighborhood. He falls asleep thinking about a discovery so large his 10-year-old mind has no framework for containing it. The timelines are real. They are adjacent and accessible, and he has been moving between them deliberately through the curtain of light, between two metal columns in a basement. There's another room in the facility, the chronovisor. The room contains a different device. The device is called the chronovisor. Chronovisor is a viewing apparatus rather than a transport apparatus. It projects images of remote events onto a screen, allowing operators to observe past or future occurrences without physically traveling to them. The boy is assigned chronovisor sessions throughout his time in the program. He observes events from antiquity, the construction of the Great Pyramid, battles from the Roman Empire, moments from medieval European history. He observes events the Orthodox historical record describe accurately and events the same record describe inaccurately. He also observes events that have yet to occur. The future, viewed through the chronovisor, displays the same property. The past displays through the teleporter, multiple variants. Different versions of the same upcoming moment, each one differing from the others in details that would matter to the people inside them. The boy observes possible futures. He watches scenes of devastating fire in cities along the East Coast. He watches scenes of those same cities continuing in ordinary patterns of human activity. He sees scenes of mass gatherings in public squares, scenes of the same squares empty and silent. He watches what appear to be variations on a single future moment, each one diverging from the others as the moment approaches and the variants resolve. He is 10 years old. He understands by this point what he is seeing. He is seeing variations in the field, seeing the same architecture the teleportation device has been crossing, but viewed from the outside The future, he comes to understand, holds the same fluid spectrum the past holds, multiple possibilities, all existing as potentials, with consciousness moving among them in patterns nobody had ever bothered to describe in the textbooks of his elementary school. The boy makes notes, keeps the notes in a small folder he hides under his bed at home. His mother finds the folder once. She reads the contents and hands it back to him without a word. She tells him to keep his school papers tidy and to wash his hands before dinner. He keeps making notes. By the time the program ends in 1972, when the boy is 12 years old, he has filled 3 folders with observations he will carry intact into adulthood. The program ends without warning. The boy is told the work is complete. He is told the country has what it needs. He is told he is free to return to ordinary life, with the understanding that what he has seen and done remains classified at a level above his ability to discuss it with anyone outside the project leadership. He returns to school, to childhood, to the slow process of growing up in the quiet New Jersey town where his parents had bought their house. He carries the knowledge with him. He carries it for 32 years before he begins to speak about it publicly. Begin with what the Chrononauts brought back, even if the Chrononauts themselves brought back something the official record refuses to acknowledge. Begin with the principle they demonstrated, whether their specific testimony is held as fact or treated as parable. Maybe it's not true. The principle is this: reality is variant. The timeline you experience as the singular fixed line of your life is one variant among uncountable others. The version of yourself walking through this moment is one version among many. The choices you have made, the relationships you've entered, the work you have done, the body you inhabit, all of it represents the integrated trajectory of a consciousness selecting variant after variant, one shift at a time, from a field of available alternatives so vast no human mind has the bandwidth to perceive its full extent. This is the discovery the Chrononauts brought back from the past. The same discovery has been arriving through other channels for over a century. Quantum mechanics describes a universe where particles exist in superposition until observation collapses them into a specific state. The many worlds interpretation formulated by Hugh Everett in 1957 proposes that every quantum measurement branches into multiple parallel realities, each one as real as the next, with consciousness following one branch while the others continue in inaccessible adjacents. The Chrononauts demonstrated this principle empirically. They walked into the past, into variants of the past. Zeeland describes the same architecture through a different framework. His reality transurfing model proposes a field of variations, an infinite spectrum of possible realities, with consciousness moving among them based on the patterns of attention and intent operating inside any individual. Zeeland has spent decades developing the practical implications of the model for ordinary human beings who wish to shift their own trajectories with deliberate awareness rather than passive drift. The Law of One transmissions channeled in the early 80s describe the same architecture again. Reality, the channeled material indicates, exists as a field of vast possibility, with the apparent continuity of any given timeline being a product of the consciousness focusing on it rather than an inherent property of the timeline itself. Neville Goddard, decades before any of this, described it in the simplest of terms: imagination creates reality. The state assumed becomes the state lived. The world conforms to the inner conviction held by the conscious observer. He was describing the same architecture the Chrononauts confirmed through experimental observation. Every framework converges on the same structure. Multiple variants exist. Consciousness selects among them. The selection happens continuously with or without awareness. The deliberate exercise of awareness applied to the selection allows the consciousness to shift its trajectory toward variants previously inaccessible to it. This is what the Chrononauts learned in basement rooms in New Jersey. This is what physicists have been demonstrating. This is what mystics have been teaching. The timeline is plural, and you are the chooser. You will never step through a curtain of plasma between 2 columns of metal in a basement in Woodridge, New Jersey. The technology has been mothballed, dismantled, or absorbed into deeper black projects whose existence remains classified beyond the reach of ordinary investigation, or it never existed. The Chrononauts have aged, the original handlers have died, the folders the boy hid under the bed have either survived in some private archive or been destroyed. You'll never use the device. You possess nothing the device imitates. The architecture the Chrononauts crossed deliberately through a doorway built in a basement is the architecture every human consciousness operates inside constantly. Every moment of your life is a selection from the variations of the field. Every choice you make collapses one potential and activates another. Every state of attention you sustain pulls your awareness toward variants of reality matching that state and shifts you away from the variants that depart from it. This is the practice the channel material has been transmitting for 70 years. This is the principle the Chrononauts learned in their basement training rooms. The technology imitates a faculty native to your consciousness. You can use the faculty, you can use it tonight. You need no technology. Sit somewhere quiet, close your eyes, bring to mind the version of yourself living 1 year from now in a variant of reality you have yet to inhabit. The version with the work you wish you were doing, the relationships you wish you were inside, the body you wish you carried, the financial reality you wish you operated within. Hold that version. See the room that version is standing in. Feel the texture of the day that version is moving through. Sense the quality of the attention that version is holding. You're looking through your own chronovisor. The variant exists and has always existed. The selection is consent. The selection is rehearsed. You can shift the selection. The selection is the integrated weight of every small choice of attention you make in the ordinary unfolding of your days. You can do it the same way the Chrononauts did, except your doorway is interior rather than electromagnetic. Your transit happens in the quiet space between thoughts rather than in a plasma confinement field. And you have to keep your nervous system loose and flexible like a child. Become like a child, Jesus teaches us, because it allows you to travel through the multiverse. Your destination is a variant of yourself rather than a variant of a historical battlefield. The architecture is identical. The practice is identical. The practice has names. Neville called it the assumption of the wish fulfilled. Zealand called it transurfing. The Law of One called it focusing of intent. The contemplative traditions call it visualization or active imagination. The neuroscientists who began to study what the contemplatives have known for centuries call it mental rehearsal. Every framework converges on the same operation. You bring the variant into vivid focus. You hold the variant with sustained attention. You allow the feeling of the variant to saturate your nervous system as if the variant were already present. The variant becomes the timeline you wake up inside. This is the future pull. This is the work the Chrononauts confirmed under laboratory conditions a half-century ago. The architecture every consciousness teacher has been pointing at across centuries of tradition. The timeline we live in is one of many. The version of you listening to these words is one version among uncountable others. The faculty allowing you to perceive a variant and select it is the faculty the Chrononauts spent years confirming. You possess the faculty. You have always possessed the faculty. The Chrononauts merely confirmed what your own awareness has been doing every moment of your life. Return to the photograph. Alexander Gardner's plate from November 19, 1863. The crowd at the dedication of the Soldiers' National Cemetery at Gettysburg. The boy in the oversized boots standing at the edge of the gathering. His figure preserved in the wet collodion emulsion that captured the moment. Lincoln spoke of the unfinished work that remained for those still living. The figure in the photograph is real, whether the figure is Andrew Basiago, sent back from a basement in New Jersey, or whether the figure is some unremarkable boy from a nearby Pennsylvania farm, whose presence at Gettysburg was perfectly ordinary. The photograph endures as an anchor for the principles the story conveys. The boy stands at the edge of history, in a place his ordinary life would never have brought him to, participating in a moment of historical consequence without anyone in his vicinity acknowledging his presence as ambiguous or anomalous. You are that boy at the edge of history, standing in a moment of consequence, participating in the unfolding of variants you have yet to select with conscious awareness, holding an oversized pair of boots your future self has yet to grow into. The Chrononauts confirmed the architecture. The architecture supports the practice exercise shifts the trajectory. The version of you standing at the edge of the crowd in the future you've yet to inhabit is already there. The photograph has already been taken. The plate has already been exposed. The image awaits for you to walk into it. Step forward. Breathe in. Walk through the curtain. Before you go, I want to cordially invite you to an amazing event I'm hosting in Anaheim, California on July 24th to the 26th, where I will help you to shift into your greatest timeline, to meet your future self, to merge with your future self, completely change your identity, and change your life. You can find tickets in the description at www.brianscottlive.com/Anaheim. I'm sending all my love and all my light to everyone listening. And may your journeys through time be wonderful. Welcome to the Reality Revolution. There's a version of your life where everything you've been reaching for arrives, where the money flows, where love opens, where your body heals, where every step carries the frequency of the self you were always meant to be. That life exists, and the path to it has been 8 years in the making. This July, the Reality Revolution comes home to Anaheim. 3 full days of teaching, meditation, and timeline activation. 9 complete sessions designed to move you from the life you're living to the life that is waiting. Activate your pineal gland, meet your higher self, quantum jump into your greatest timeline, enter the bliss body healing state, step into the flow of large sums of money, open fully to love, shift into a higher density new earth. Friday night, the community celebrates together. Saturday evening, a special appearance from Daryl Anka. And by Sunday evening, you walk out as the version of yourself your future self has been waiting for.
I knew I had to be in the room because it's different from like listening to the meditation videos online.
It was really getting into yourself and how you feel and your timelines.
It's time at the event, and it really is. It's wonderful. So I would highly recommend to anyone, if you get the opportunity to do it, absolutely do it. It really is amazing.
The Reality Revolution live in Anaheim, July 24th, 25th, and 26th at the Hilton Anaheim. 3 days that will change the trajectory of your life. Early bird pricing is available now. Claim your seat at www.brianscottlive.com/Anaheim.